Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inaugural episode of Daventry Studios Creative Corner. Tonight we have a guest who I met actually not too far from here, and I thought he was going to rob the house of one of my friends. So please welcome Mr. Eric Cyr.
Don't you people realize all the things I did? I always spoke so kindly, I never ran and hid, I never flew old Dixie's flag. I always told those folks I thought it in poor taste. I yelled at my TV in a moral just outrage. I cried for all their pain in a truly saintly way. I said people need to change as I shook my head in my new living room. But how can you not tell me that I will go to hell? Well, I helped my fellow man, and I always did it well. I voted for that nice black man. I was a modern Whig. Oh, master, it was not the time for fix. Now you're trying to tell me the blood is on my suit. But what should I have done? It's not like I put on the boot. You know I was no MLK, but you know I never wore no pointed hat. Can it really be my fault that things were the way they were? But what should I have done instead? What pot should I have stirred? Ask anyone who knew me if I ever said a single hateful slur. So how can you not tell me that I will go to hell? Well, I know I wasn't perfect, but I tried my best as well. I mostly acted kindly, I just once or twice reneged. Oh, master, it was not the time for fix. With my last breath spent, I opened my eyes, see fire all around me. Oh, what a surprise for me to find. How did things end up like this? Oh God, please don't tell me that he'll sit next to me with no hope of me moving for all eternity. I mean, it's nothing against him personally, but isn't there a wider circle here? I thought that there'd be more of them here, but I only see a few. You mean to say I'm down here suffering and they're up there with you? Well, if his kind sits in heaven, then I guess it's just as good I stay down here. So how can you not tell me that I will go to hell? Well, I know I wasn't perfect, but I tried my best as well. Yes, I've only got the leaves of these undeveloped sprigs. Oh, but master, it was not the time. No, not the time for fix. And how can you now tell me that I must stay in hell? Well, I know this ain't a place where I deserve to dwell. Yes, I know I should have more than these poor malnourished twigs. But master, it was not the time for fix.
So cool.
Hello.
Eric,
Hello.
welcome. Mentally shake your hand.
Shake.
Socially distancing. Thanks, Eric, for being here. My name is Jesse Meal. This is Nicole Teakip. We are here to present you the first ever episode of Creative Corner from Daventry Studios, as you can see by the lovely banner hiding behind this. What is this? Some sort of bush.
Yeah.
we're actually filming in the backyard of the Newman Center in Duluth, Minnesota. So it's a lovely night for music and filming and creativeness. So thanks for coming, Eric, and thanks, Rain, for staying away.
Yes.
So tell us about yourself as an artist. How did you get started? How did you know that this is what you were called to do, to put it dramatically?
I have been involved in music since I was like 11, 12 years old. Started playing trombone and was in music throughout high school and studied music in college, kind of on a more classical band, jazz band, other area things. But then I was also influenced by just folk music a lot and old 70s records that my dad had that I listened to, a lot of Bob Dylan and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Paul Simon and Simon and Garfunkel and that kind of music. And so I started playing guitar when I was in like 9th grade because we had one in the house, and so I picked it up and started playing that, and then I had a friend who I played and sang a little bit with in high school and started writing songs when we would play different things together, and wrote a lot of very terrible songs in high school. I think I knew at the time they were bad, but I didn't know how bad they were. And then I kept writing songs in college and played some. They had like late night Kirby open mic nights I played sometimes. Forgot the lyrics a few times at those, and played just a little bit in college. And then I was a missionary for 2 years in Belize, and that's where I really started writing a lot more songs, whether it was whatever the circumstances there, the time, and different things. I started being a lot more creative with my songwriting and writing better quality songs, I think. And so then it was after I came back to Duluth, after that time, that I started trying to perform around town, played in some singer-songwriter contests, and started getting some gigs here and there. So I think that answers the question in the long way, how I got into it.
It was a short question with a much-deserved long answer, so
right,
thank you very much.
Yeah, so my question is, what was it about Belize that kind of drove you to your music? And a combination with that question, I guess, is what drives you now in your music?
I wrote a lot of, I guess there's like different sides to it, or kind of two different approaches to songs when I was there, I guess. I wrote like songs for people that were more like whimsical, less like you perform it at a gig for everyone songs, and more just like songs as a way of interacting with people. So just like fun songs for people, because we lived in community and we knew each other pretty well and we're really close all the time. And so we just hang out and play songs and write that way. But I think that, those aren't songs that I necessarily play a lot, but influenced the way that I guess music is a part of my life more broadly, and for other people, I guess. If you just focus on like, this is my songs, this is what I'm doing, and I'm writing for myself, or I'm performing for myself, it's pretty narcissistic or like onanistic, versus like for other people. And so I think that same idea then applies to other songs that do explore other topics and issues. And I think my songs kind of cover a pretty broad range of styles when I play with the whole band, and we can do different things other than just me on the acoustic guitar, but also like lyrically things as well. And like I've written songs for my kids, and my wife criticized me for not writing enough songs for her, but I pointed out to her the other day that there are several songs that are for her that maybe she didn't realize were for her. Anyway, so I guess that largely does kind of relationship and being able to play for other people, and then just having like I don't know, something to write about.
So one thing Nicole and I like talking about is the greatness of stories, and how we all tell stories in different ways, and it could be song, it could be a play, it could be movie. And I do want to tell a quick story and then get into the story behind the first song that you played tonight, because people are going to wonder why I thought you were a robber. So so I lived in a house right down the road here, which you can't see because unfortunately you don't have a camera on it, but
and it's gone.
And it's also
it's
gone.
Demolished.
Yeah, it's demolished. Yeah. So double whammy. But Eric's sister and I, his sister Mary and I were friends for a few years before Eric got up here to Duluth, and she or somebody had left her sled at my house, and it had been there all summer, and I moved back up for the school year, and I said, well, I should bring this down to Mary's house. So I walked down the block to Mary's house, and I saw this really shady looking guy poking around the backyard, and I kept walking and looking, like, I don't want this guy to break into my friend's house. And then, do you remember what you said to me, Eric?
I told you that was my sled.
Yeah, he comes up and goes, I think you have my sled. Yeah, so that's how we met. I thought he was a robber, but I actually had his sled.
That's a true story.
So
I think my name was literally on it because I got it for Christmas when I was young, and it said Eric in faded permanent marker
I
letters.
believe it. I believe it.
What a first impression.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And we're managed to be friends,
That's true.
so that's a good thing.
We're covered.
Yes. So your first song was Figs, and it's off his CD called Calloused. We don't endorse smoking on the show, but there's a guy smoking on this. And it seems to be kind of a timely song as far as references to, like, maybe race relations and such. Do you want to give us the backstory for that?
Yeah, so there's multiple kind of different layers of the song, I think. That one maybe has more to it than most of my songs. But what you're speaking about, definitely, it was like right after there were riots in Baltimore, which was like 2016, 17, I don't remember exactly. But it was like kind of right after that, and had been talking to some different friends about different ideas regarding like white privilege and the way that we can think that we're like, I don't know, kind of virtue signaling, like saying these are the things that I do that mean that I'm a good person, but maybe we don't realize all these other things that you're actually doing. And so it's so easy to slip into like, oh, I do all the right things and I say the right things, and so therefore I'm a good person, and that underneath that there can be a lot more going on, which is like and then that idea mixed with just a thought that I had, like, it would really sink to think that you're a good person and then you die and wake up in hell and you're like, wait a second, how did I get here? This isn't right. I was a good person. So those two kind of ideas coming together, and then with the image, one of my favorite strange stories from Scripture, when Jesus curses the fig tree, and he like kills this fig tree, and the apostles are like, Master, it was not time for figs. Like, you just killed this fig tree because it didn't produce fruit, but it wasn't even supposed to be producing fruit right now. Which I always thought was an interesting story, but I think it really speaks to, like, it is always time for figs. Like, we always have to be producing in our lives, and we always have to be striving. It's not like an off time for us as the fig trees. So it's kind of those three ideas that came together into that song.
Very cool.
That's amazing.
What's the next song you're going to play for us?
I think it's called, Morose Joy.
I'm glad you remembered. All right. Well, I'll have you step back over to your little performing circle, and we'll check in with you again after this song number 2.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks.
The memory's wilting, the colors are blurred, but clearly he hears it, the shape of the word that she said that night in the rain. He stumbled home senseless, his hands stuck inside of his pockets, they burned. There he's trying to hide, but he cried that night in the rain. He wandered past windows, bright signs mattered not. He saw only nothing. His only little thought was, that's all she wrote after all. Broken rear window, he punched it too hard when he got in his truck and it just wouldn't start. He said, damn, that's all that I need. So he plodded through puddles, his suit looking muddled by the dirt and the tears and the blood and the years that were lost that night in the rain. And a car driving past just pointed and laughed as he hit the mud fast, and he sprayed one more splash in his face that night in the rain. As a cop pulled beside him and started to chide him and told him the vagrant's been outlawed since 72 and he'd better move along. He finally gets home and the sign says foreclosed, and he don't even care that he hasn't been told until now. He's numb by now. Inside the dark building, the power is gone. The toilet keeps leaking. Should have had something done about that long before now. So he picks up a flashlight and tinkers away, but he's never fixed nothing. Oh, his pa used to say, oh my son, will you ever be a man? But his hands keep on working, they ain't want to quit. A jerk and a jiggle, he thinks this is it. Water sprays all over the walls. He watches his failure, his stomach starts to churn, a cough and a quiver. He feels his throat burn and he throws himself on the seat. Oh, the porcelain kingdom, it cradles him kindly as water pours out. From beside and behind him the king of the realm of all of this. A smile overcomes him in spite of himself. He could not explain it to anyone else. Sits and smiles and laughs thanks to God. Oh, 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 oh,
Welcome back. It's great. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was going to ask you, I think that your songs have a very real capacity in your lyrics to penetrate deep truths about life, and I've seen that in a couple of your songs. And I was wondering, I think it says on your page, on your website, it mentions something about beauty and truth. And I was wondering what role beauty and truth play in your music, or how that influences it.
That is a great question. Thank you. Well, hopefully, like, I think art should be beautiful and music is art. I mean, there's a certain, this is a very philosophical, like, question to ask about what is art and the function of art. And there's, like, some art that functions as, that I think it can be, like, just a challenge, and like, there's a certain sense about modernist art where you're like, okay, I can see that this is saying something. But to me, it doesn't really function as art anymore. It's like a statement at that point. There's something that, like, to really be art, it has to have some sense of beauty, or trying to be beautiful, or searching for what beauty is. And I think that's an important part of what art is and can do. And at the same time, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I don't have, like, pop music sensibilities to write a pop love song, at the club song kind of song. If it's just not my, if it's because it's not my sensibility, or because I want to, like, I enjoy a lot of, like, light-hearted songs, but I write less of them, I guess. But trying to, I think what you're saying about telling stories, I like trying to tell stories in songs as well. I studied literature, and I attempt writing all sorts of different forms, from songs up to short stories, up to a couple novels that I've been writing. And so telling stories in ways, and I think I really enjoy songs that do that, and that you can. The cool thing about writing a story versus like writing a song versus writing a story or a novel is like you have such a short time to do it, and like to give that image and that impression and that story and that truth that you want to tell in such a short amount of time, unless you're Bob Dylan and you have like 5,000 words to do it in a 16-minute song. But like to get that image and to impact someone with a truth or something beautiful in 3 or 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. So you brought up Dylan, and you brought him up a couple times. Do you have any big influences like now that aren't necessarily musicians? Like, who inspires you to?
Is it okay
do
if
your
I
most?
say musicians?
Yeah, if you want to.
Recently, I mean, I have for a while listened to quite a bit of John Prine, and recently been going, like, listening to interviews and watching a lot of videos of him after he passed away this year. And just his approach to songwriting has influenced, I guess, just the way that I've been thinking about it and working on it, and writing songs. Even the last song I'm going to play later, I wrote after kind of having read and listened to a lot about his songwriting process and the way he wrote stories, and trying to kind of put that into my own songwriting. So there's a lot of people who I guess I would say I try to learn from and imitate. But like outside of musicians, Flannery O'Connor, who we were talking about before the show, and just reading her letters and her essays and different things, and seeing kind of, you really more fully appreciate what she was doing in her stories, which are incredible writing in and of themselves, but just her approach to it and the way that she thought about it kind of philosophically, and also as a vocation, as a call, like, this is what I'm supposed to do, and these are the kinds of stories that I'm going to tell. And it can convey some truth even to somebody who's like diametrically opposed to her personal beliefs, and she can somehow reach them, and she can be, lauded as like the best National Book Award winner of the first 50 years of the National Book Award, by people who would not share her beliefs at all. And a way to cross that divide is pretty cool and interesting.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned vocation, and I think that relates a lot to ordinary life. And so my question with that is, in your own life, how do you balance music and what you're called to do as a teacher, and how does that all play together?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. It's definitely been like, since I'm at home all the time with 3 kids, and like trying to work and trying to do my best to take care of them and do what I need to do in that vocation, and still to write and be able to perform. Definitely is a stretch, and I would say that I am probably not as good at any of the things I do as I should be because I'm trying to do too many things. But I don't know, I mean, as far as like writing and playing songs, I would definitely say that I feel like a call, that is what I feel most passionately about, as far as like my work and something I can do and contribute, and that can hopefully eventually, if you keep chucking away at it, reach other people and have some truth and some beauty to it that can reach somebody. But it starts like a very small circle of, you have a couple friends who say, oh, your songs are good, and then you try playing for a little bit more and a little bit more. And so trying to, I guess, see how far that can reach, and how many people it can reach, and if it doesn't go beyond a few people and family, then maybe that's just all it's supposed to do. But to do my best to use those opportunities and the gifts and craft that I've worked on as much as I can.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you so much for being here. What's the last song for us now?
It's called Cemetery Stone.
Cemetery Stone.
Yes.
And is there a story behind that at all?
Yes. So I live right next to 2 cemeteries, actually. They're on either side of the road, and I run through them pretty often, and I enjoy running through the cemetery. as a side note. I didn't always, and I used to feel like guilty about running through a cemetery, like it was not respectful. And maybe it isn't, and maybe some people still don't think it is. But I do it, and I feel like I'm being respectful when I do. But anyway, so I run through the cemetery, and one reason I like it is just the connection to other people who were here before, and just looking at the names and seeing the gravestones and just wondering about different people. But there are several gravestones that are benches, and so for a while I was like, who's going to sit at a cemetery bench? I'm not going to sit on somebody's gravestone. But then I was thinking about, like, it's kind of a cool idea to have a bench as your cemetery stone. And then thinking about, like, why would you want that, and kind of who would ask for, when I die, build a bench for my cemetery stone, and then building kind of a story of imagining myself as that person who's asking, when I die, build a bench for my cemetery stone. So that's the idea kind of behind the song, and then imbued with kind of modern situation, hearing, a couple months back that there were so many people who were dying alone with, like, nobody around, and kind of putting that into the situation and wanting someone to be able to be with you after you're gone, because no one's there when you're dying. So here's the song, Cemetery Stone.
Very cool. Before you head over there, got anything else, Nicole? Cool. Where can people go to check out more of your music?
You can go to... So I'm playing alone, but I have a band that is now called Cyr and the Cosmonauts. You can find us on Facebook, Cyr and the Cosmonauts. You can find cyr-music.com. Spotify, there's an album called Calloused by just Cyr. It looks like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Willie lights lance across the bed here like it always done at home. But the dust that hangs still in that sunshine ain't a skill that you brush loose with your comb. When I die, build a bench for my cemetery stone, so my children can sit where I lay, and my grandkid can come with his girl Friday night. Introduce her to me, tell me your name. In the still of this room, I go back there to that swing on the porch in my mind, and I rock with you pressed up beside me, feel the warmth of your hip warming mine. When I die, build a bench for my cemetery stone, so my children can sit where I lay, and my grandkid can come with his girl Friday night. Introduce her to me, tell me your name. I can hear the soft click ticking by me, and the gentlest thrum of my breath. I can hear your soft face when I close my eyes, feel your hand leading me into rest. When I die, build a bench for my cemetery stone, so my children can sit where I lay, and my grandkid can come with his girl Friday night. Introduce her to me, tell me your name. Introduce her to me,
tell me your name.
I wanted to add a book recommendation that's actually listed on my Restore the Beauty site, so you should check it out if you want to know other books that I really love and that really, I think, point our eyes to beauty. But the one that I wanted to talk about is called The Heart of the World by Hans Urs von Balthasar, and he is a Swiss theologian that was writing in the late 20th century. And his writings are incredibly beautiful. He's focused on the abyss of God's love, which is amazing. But it's divided into 3 parts, and the first part talks about the kingdom of God, the second part talks about the suffering of Jesus, and the third talks about the victory of Jesus. And I read it during Lent this year, preparing for Easter, and it really dramatically changed the way that I saw this season and also the way that I see the Lord, because it's incredibly beautifully written. It's poetry, really. But I would recommend it to anyone because it really opens your eyes to a new reality. And beauty does that, I think, but especially in this book, he does it super well. So, Heart of the World, Hans Urs von Balthasar. Check it out.